Hello there and welcome to ManageEngine's Leadership Talks. In this video series, we will talk to our leaders on the 20 years transformation story of ManageEngine.
From humble beginnings to creating a technology ecosystem for enterprises, it's been a great journey. In this series, our leaders will share their experience, give us insights to inspire you all.
Settle in, enjoy the conversations, and learn from our leaders.
A very good day, everyone. I am Prem Maheshwaran. I welcome you all to this episode of Leadership Talk. Today, I have with me Vice President of ManageEngine, Rajesh Ganesan. He is here to share with us the experience of leadership at ManageEngine. It's a pleasure to have you here, Rajesh.
My pleasure too, Prem. Thank you very much.
Rajesh, I have prepared a series of questions that I would like to ask you to learn from your leadership experience. So I would like to start with this. Today, we have got about 90 plus products in ManageEngine.
Right.
How did we start this journey? How do we steer innovation in ManageEngine? Can you share with us your experience about this?
Today, we are in the 20th year of ManageEngine. Today, when someone looks at ManageEngine having 90 products, looks very impressive, looks very overwhelming. But when we started, we did not have any grand plans, right? So 20 years down the line, we should be having a suite of 100 products, whatever. None of that sort, right? When we started, we wanted to keep it very simple, very small, one step at a time, right? At that point in time, I clearly remember 2002, the company was going through a pivot. Yes. So as a company, we were incorporated in 1997. We grew the business really, really well. And the initial line of business, when we started in 96, 97, was to supply software for telecom carriers, right? So say, for example, in the US, we have all these Nortels of the world. Yes. They will supply equipment, right? So take, for example, Ericsson is a company that builds telecommunication network that is installed across the country. Carriers like AT&T, T-Mobile, right? So get these hardware and then provide services to their customers. This hardware across the country needed software for management, right? So, and that's what we were supplying. And business was going very, very strong. But as luck would have it, so if you remember 2000, 2001 time, because apparently you still look young, so I don't know if you remember. So we had what we now call historically as the .com boom. That was the birth of Internet 1.0, its first version. But a lot of these hardware companies, the optical switch companies, started to fail, right? So we did not need so many companies producing hardware for the population back then, for the internet back then, the modest requirements. Yep. Some of the companies were supplying enough hardware for the internet to be built. So I'm saying all this because we were supplying software to these hardware vendors who were selling it to companies like AT&T or T-Mobile, which are very, very few across the world, right? Yep. So this is our initial business model. We were going after a very small number of companies who in turn were going after like less than 10 companies, right? So the deal sizes were big, right? All that. And 2000 and 2001, we went through this internet burst, the .com burst, and also the World Trade Center attack happened. These are things you don't foresee as a business, right? Yes. Suddenly companies started disappearing, right? So when you have only 70, 80 companies, right, and only 5 or 10 are actually needed in the market, they vanish pretty quickly, right? That is when, as a business, we realized, right, so we should pivot into a market. We should diversify ourselves as a business and not be dependent on like very, very few companies, right? So you should spread your addressable market, and that's how ManageEngine was born. So from serving big telecom companies, our intention was to go after every business that would have technology infrastructure, right? So that is the simple idea. What would any company having sets of servers, right? Some bit of internet infrastructure, your network infrastructure need? They will have a team of 10, 20, 50 people managing this infrastructure, and they will need tools to make sure this environment is up and running all the time. That is the opportunity we saw, like very, very modest start. We started building one product first, released it to the market. We sort of invented our own business model. At that point in time, we were very disruptive, right? So back in 2002, 2003, the business models were very, very serious, right? Yes. It was still pre-Gmail days, right? If you can imagine, right? I'm not even talking about Instagram or WhatsApp, pre-Gmail days.
Yes.
Your email was like very, very close, right? So the communication was not as free and flowing as it is now. So people would visit. We were in Chennai, in South India. We wanted to buy some software. Salespeople would fly in from Singapore. That was the business model, right? Very high touch, very highly expensive model. We questioned, right? So why should it be this way? There is technology, right? Why can't we simplify? So these are the goals with which we started ManageEngine, right? So it was never about building 90 products, right? It was finding the right problem to solve, right? For the market, for the customers. It is asking questions like, should we invent a new business model? Should we be disrupting? So we have the talent, we have the ability. We've already run business for 5 years. We have some software built already. How do we take it? How do we modify? How do we pivot, right? Take it to a completely new market, which is very, very less risk averse compared to serving telcos, right? That was the thought with which we started ManageEngine. So one product became two, two became four, four became eight, and here we are with 90 products in the 20th year of ManageEngine.
That's a great pivotal decision, I would say.
Yes.
Today we are turning.
In hindsight.
Today ManageEngine turns 20, and you are celebrating your 26th anniversary with ManageEngine.
I celebrate every day, and this happens to be the 26th year.
That's a great way to look at life, I would say. Okay. Rajesh, talking about building products, I remember Service Desk Plus was built in the year 2005 with just 4 engineers.
Right.
Right? At that time, we had a very humble beginning. Our customers were mainly small and medium businesses.
Right.
So today, Service Desk Plus is our flagship product.
Right.
We serve to an enterprise market.
Right.
Many enterprise businesses use Service Desk Plus to solve their business requirements.
Right.
So how did we start from a very humble beginning and turn this into an intricate technology ecosystem? Can you explain the journey with us?
I mean, yeah, this is a question I get asked often, right? So how do you start so small and how do you become big? So philosophical answer, right? So we were not born in this size, right? We are all born babies, right?
Yes.
Along the way, we learn a lot of things, right? So we grow in terms of physical size, in terms of our abilities, capabilities. That applies to any business, right? This was no magic at all. I would say the piece of things that worked, right? So as Steve Jobs would say, you can connect the dots only after it happens. A lot of things aligned for us, I would say, right? But we also leveraged those things to our advantage. What I mean, so internet was booming at that point in time, right? So internet as a marketing and sales channel was a very, very new concept back in 2004 to 2005. So where as a new player serving only the small customers, we did not have any disadvantage against established players, right? You have a completely new channel that is available through which you were able to reach the entire world, right? Your target audience, your target market suddenly opened very, very broadly. So to our credit, we were open to see this opportunity, leverage it, and sort of like able to ride the wave, so to say. That's what we did, right? We kept our eyes and ears open, our mind open, right? So culturally, like we were sort of very fearless, right? What would happen? When you start, you often look at, there are already big players in the market, so would we have a chance? None of those thoughts crossed our minds then, right? Because I am mentioning this now when young people come and ask me this, right? Should I start to do this because there are already established players, right? Yes. So I said that's not how you start thinking, right? Start thinking about what you can do best, and that's exactly what we did in ManageEngine. So the other factor that was to our advantage was we were already 6 years into the business, right? We had software that was a platform on top of which we could build ManageEngine products. Say, for example, Op Manager or Service Desk Plus. Even though it was 4 people to start with, they did not start from scratch, right? Yes. So there was like good base of software platform that we had built before, so we did not throw away, right? So even though we pivoted, it's only the business and the business model that got pivoted, right? So none of the engineering culture, the engineering ability, or the code that we had developed. So we did not like throw anything of that away, right? So we reused it, we repurposed it. All of that like contributes to what ManageEngine is today, right? So back then, our mind was focused on like finding the right opportunities, finding the right problems that when we solved it well, right? And also our ability to look at new avenues, new channel, new opportunities, and keeping the mind fearless, open to ideas, to trying those channels, right? What would go wrong, right? Nothing could go wrong, right? Trying your best. And this spirit is what I clearly remember from 2004-6 time frame, 4-5-6 time frame.
Okay.
So that gave us the confidence. If you could do 1 or 2 products like this, you have the framework, your abilities, so just go and replicate. Today, you have 90. It doesn't look like big effort or like a big achievement or whatever, right? It's exactly like how we have grown up today, right? Yeah.
All right. Talking about that, I could sense that we had a startup spirit back then, but
Right.
today we have an enterprise outfit.
Right.
Do we still have the same startup spirit with us?
I would say yes, right? So ManageEngine, if you look from outside, could see as one entity, but inside we are still like 90 different startups, right? Or 60 different startups, like 20 in like medium term maturity, and 10 products could be like high maturity, right? But one thing that I still see, like if you take me as an example, this applies to all people inside ManageEngine. So I intentionally make sure even though I do a lot of evangelism and product strategy and all that, I also make sure 10% of the time I get to work something hands-on, right? Sometimes I do customer support, I write my own content, build my own slide deck, right? Do the presentations. All of this is very important, not to lose touch, right? So this is something, this starts from our CEO, right? He still keeps himself like very, very much in touch with software programming, coding. He's like working on his new language. Same goes for Sailesh, right? So he still like looks at code, writes code, reviews code, right? That retaining that culture, right? So from engineering standpoint, from cultural standpoint, has been like another edge that we have had, right? So today, 90 products, we are going to the enterprise, all that is fine. But I don't think we have lost that enterprise spirit or the startup spirit. Sorry, I stand corrected here. The startup spirit
Yes.
has not gone like one bit, because every single year, right? So from 2004, I remember, we have launched a new product, right? So 2021, we launched a couple.
Yes.
So 2022, we have at least 3 in the pipeline that I know of. These are all startups, right? So new products, so with 5 people, 10 people, leveraging our framework. This is how we build products, and this spirit is continuing to go.
That would be really surprising to our audience to know that our leadership is still doing the frontline work till date. And
I mean, I am surprised that this is surprising, right? And you just cannot lose your basic trait, right? So if this is what has brought you so far, like that's what you have to enhance, hone in terms of your core skill, right?
Yes.
We are, end of the day, a software company, right? So we could have different business models, we could be serving different markets, right? But fundamentally, our craft is to build software products, right? How efficiently we do, how effectively we do, that matters, right? So how nimble we are, all that matters. Things do change. There are factors beyond our control. We, of course, do mistakes. If you ask me to give a list of mistakes, I could give a longer list, right? All that applies.
Yes.
Despite all that, right? So we are able to still have the spirit, have the culture, have the ManageEngine engine going, right? So for 20 years, and I really hope that it will go on for like a couple more decades.
that's a great way to put it. Rajesh, I know ManageEngine invests heavily on research and development than any other verticals.
Right.
Can you tell me what is the approach here? What is the insight behind investing heavily on research and development?
So, yeah, as a company, or let me answer it this way, right? So, take any business. There are many aspects, many factors that drive a business, right? So, the 2 most important things, according to me, are, so one is the basic craft, and the other is the trade, right? So, what do I mean by craft, right? If you are in hospitality industry, right? So, that is your basic craft. So, you could be running a healthcare company, you could be in manufacturing, you could be a musician, right? You could be an artist, you could be an actor. That is your basic craft, right? So that what enables you to be in the business. But that alone is not sufficient. You also need to know trade, right? Which is how do you market your skills? How do you monetize your skills, right? So that is the trade part of it, right? Often in my observation, so businesses typically start with both in equal measures, but somewhere along the line, right? So you tend to focus more on the trade and start to lose your ability on your own craft, right?
Yes.
So as a craftsperson, one important ability is to be able to understand your own tools that you use. Even better if you can build your own tools, or you should at least be able to fix your own tools, right? For example, I talked about musician, right? If you are a musician, so you just cannot depend 100% on somebody supplying you the instrument all the time. So when the instrument has some problem, you should have enough understanding to be able to fix it, right? Even better if you can make your own instruments, right? That's how you sort of not only enhance your core craft, but also experiment with building your instruments, right? That is very, very important. So consciously, in the last 25 years, even to this day, when we discuss strategies, right, at the leadership level, so we always make sure we don't lose this ability on the craft part, right? So take Zoho as a company today, ManageEngine as a division inside Zoho. Both of us have transformed completely into a cloud company, right? So we have a lot of offerings that is like served from the cloud. We have a full-blown software as service suite in Zoho. ManageEngine, we talk about 90 different products, right? Half of them are available from the cloud, right?
Yes.
So one approach that we could have taken, so we could have gone to the market faster, is not learn to know how to build a cloud service, but we could have gone with using services from a third party, right? We could just have built the software and completely relied on someone to host our software on the cloud. But this was a conscious decision. If you are going to be a cloud company, your basic craft is to run this cloud, right? So in addition to building all these products, today our cloud operations run 100% in-house, right? We buy hardware, even hardware, I would say like we are experimenting, thinking of building our own hardware, right? When you talk about your craft, it has to be end-to-end. Today, we just buy hardware, right? Otherwise, the cloud stack that we have is completely homegrown, right? We may use some components from outside, some open source, but we have built the ability, the know-how of how to build a massive cloud infrastructure with which you are today serving the entire global population, right? So Zoho has more than 75 million users today. So put Zoho and ManageEngine together, you have 200 different cloud applications, right? A lot more in the pipeline. So your question is, why is ManageEngine or Zoho investing heavily in R&D?
Yes.
So the fundamental answer to that is we see our business as equal measure of both craft and business. And we intentionally and consciously want to retain our craft part, right? And not outsource any core craft part that we do to anyone outside. Because the moment you start relying on like one vendor where you could outsource one of your core key capabilities, some complacency could set in, right? You'll suddenly start the trade part taking over. You see some immediate growth. So you tend to focus more of outsourcing or less craft and more trade, right? This imbalance is something we consciously make sure we have it in fine balance. And that happens with this explicit focus on R&D, right? So both Zoho and ManageEngine, we have our own labs, right? Which is run as seriously and with investment more than even the product teams, I would say, right? The role of the labs team is to like be aware, be relevant, and like be abreast of like what is happening currently, what technology, right? Not only for today, like for the next 2 years, next 5 years, next 10 years, right? What is going to happen? That is the role of the labs team. They are constantly looking for ideas, trying new things, right? Building new frameworks, building new libraries, coming up with new use cases that we could solve for our customers. And they are no way connected with the product teams, right? So once they build a good capable technology, and that comes as the base part of all the products that we use, right? So this is no secret. This is our model, right? So we see business as craft and trade. and we consciously make sure the balance is retained always. We don't want to lose our ability in our own craft, right? What powers us, our craft, our business, like we should have the know-how, we should have the ability to build ourselves, right? And today we are a software company and we build all our software ourselves, but more and more software and hardware are coming together. Today, take for example, Apple is a company that does hardware to software to your accessories end to end, right? That's a great model, right? So you are not relying on anybody outside, right? You are building your deep capabilities, deep know-how. And this is a model we will expand to other areas and not just stop with software. This is one of the things that drives this company. And I know for a fact that it keeps people like me in this company, right? You are always working on some things very curious, right? You are,
of course,
again, the fearless mindset of experimenting, of doing things, of not looking at other competition or other products and saying, oh, when are we going to build like that? Get your hands dirty, jump, take the plunge, start doing, right? So, and that happens only when you have a R&D first mindset, when you have the craft first mindset, right? The moment you start focusing more and more on the trade part, which I don't think it's wrong for many businesses, trade could come first, right? Which is absolutely not wrong, but in our company point of view, our point of view, so we want to have the balance and also focus on the craft part first. We are a craft first company. And this is the answer that I would give for why we invest in R&D, right? There is a method to this madness.
Certainly,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I like the part madness. We are, I would say, a rationally insane organization.
You could say that.
Okay, that's a very good way to strike a balance between craft and trade, and it's a good way to run a business as well. Right. Okay, I want to kind of explore a little bit about the craft part of you.
Okay.
All right. You brought in the musician analogy there.
Okay.
I want to know about the music side of you.
Okay.
You're
the
a
musical
percussionist.
side of me?
Yeah, the musical side.
Don't ask me to sing live, Prem. I'm very bad at singing. I have tried percussion. I've learned it, right? Different forms of percussion, Indian and Western. That is one other passion that I have. And the reason I even talked about musicians' ability to build their own instrument.
Yes.
So when I started learning to play the drums, I wasn't very young, right? So I learned the Indian percussion when I was young, right?
Yes.
As is the culture in southern India. So when you are 5, 6, right? So yeah, being a boy, if you cannot sing, you have to play percussion, right? So when I was into the job is when I got interested, started to learn drumming. So the person I learned from, he actually told me, right? It's not enough just you play, right? You should know about the instrument. You should actually make the instrument, and that is more enjoyable, right? You make the instrument according to how you like, right? You can make it sound like the way you want. He'll talk with a lot of passion. Look at this drum head from where I got, right? You apply a tone ring on top of it, how the tone changes, right? So these are things stayed with me. I come to this company, try to apply. And Sridhar Vembu, the CEO, he also talks about this. You have a conversation with Sailesh, our co-founder. He also talks like this. The importance of retaining your craft, right? Seen it with many successful professionals. They don't just stop with just that performance, right?
Yes.
And there is a craft angle to this. And day after day after day, they focus on honing their skill, right? And in addition to the skill, it is also their ability to build their own tools, right?
Certainly, yes.
They are so self-sufficient. As a musician, you are not just learning, practicing to perform. You are very self-sufficient. You are not relying on somebody to make instruments for you, fix instruments for you, right? So again, when I learned music, these are lessons that I also got to pick. But you asked me about my musical side. I don't know if I have a musical side to me, but that was something that I explored for a while. We had a band in Zoho for a while. I used to joke, I ran the band more seriously than any of the product teams, right? So that's how serious that was. But yeah, that was another passion.
Certainly, the mindset matters. I have seen the DIY mindset with many of our leadership in ManageEngine.
Right.
Certainly, that explains why we develop a lot of proprietary technologies like the Mickey framework, a language like Pali and Deluge, and Zia in-house grown AI engine.
Right.
Right. That explains.
Yeah.
in a way, it's a very sustainable model to run a business, to grow your own technology in-house.
Being self-sufficient is a good model. So you can be an individual, you can be a family, right? A business, a country, right? If you extrapolate and see, that is a very important factor, right? You can rely on certain things, but there are some basic requirements, core requirements, as I keep talking about, your basic craft that allows you to monetize your skill, right? So give you a living, how you enhance or make an impact to people around you. For all of this, you have to be self-sufficient, right? Not be relying too much outside for these basic things, right? Along with your craft, your ability to build the tools, right? Which is why we invest heavily in R&D, as we say.
Yes.
And 90 products in ManageEngine, 200 plus products across Zoho Corporation as a company.
Yep.
So all of them like share a large portion of the code base, the software base, right? These products are not independently built. That is another reason for the success of this company. This framework thinking, reusability thinking, modular thinking, platform thinking. If you build one product, if you have invested enough in building one product, taking it to the market, making it successful, don't stop with that, right? So leverage it to sort of repurpose the same product, same model to the adjacent market, right? And 2 years down the line, expand the scope, right? That's how we built all these 90 different products. That's again, a formal thinking goes behind this. There is
Certainly.
a method to this madness. So when you just one day look at how 90 products came to be, it could be overwhelming. But you see one day at a time, one product at a time. Not at all. It comes from your basic thinking, your approach of how you build the products, how you build the business, right? And how you retain your culture and how you retain your craft. These are the most important things, right?
Certainly.
So people often take a look at from the perspective of seeing the products, right? So products comes at the end, right? So at the beginning, at the start, there are like other factors, like your ability, right? How ready you are, your culture, your mindset, all of those matters. Once you have those ingredients ready, 1, 10, 90 products will happen automatically.
Definitely. Rajesh, speaking of curiosity and innovation,
Okay.
I know that we have reached this far. 20 years back, we predicted the cloud burst and built a business around it.
Right.
Now, what is going to happen in the next 20 years? What is the vision and how prepared are we?
Right.
What are the innovations that we are building at this point in time?
Right. I mean, if you ask me what would happen in the next 20 years, like I'll put my hands up, right? I don't want to make predictions for that long, right? 20 years is way too long, especially in the technology industry. So one thing that I could say, this is again something we talk often at the leadership level, right? So 20 years, again, looks like a long time. One other factor that has allowed us to stay afloat for 20 years is how relevant we have been over all the technology waves that we have seen, right? As I said, when ManageEngine started, it was pre-Gmail days, right?
Yes.
You can imagine the changes that has happened in the technology world in the last 15 years, right? After Gmail, we didn't have Facebook then, right? So Facebook happened, right? Instagram happened, WhatsApp happened. Like today we are talking about Web 3.0, NFTs and all of that. So our attempt now, again, is to retain the spirit, right? Look at Web 3.0 with an open mind. Look at what blockchain can do.
Yes.
Look at what all the hype around artificial intelligence and machine learning can do, and take all the hype off, dust them off,
Yes.
and see how we can put it to practical use for our customers, right? That is the role of the ManageEngine Labs initiative that I was talking about, right? They look at, among all the AI and ML libraries, you have like a lot of work going on in terms of blockchain, right? In cryptocurrency,
Yes.
all of these, right? Is happening. You have NFTs. How could those be applied in the area of IT infrastructure management, right? Or in any line of business, right?
Yes.
That is how we approach, right? So we know that there is a trend that is happening. We want to make sure we are relevant, right? We are not going to close the door to these technologies saying like, these may not take off, right? No such prediction. Embrace uncertainty and take all the hype off and see where we could practically apply and sort of derive value and deliver value to customers is how we think. To answer your question straight,
Yes.
Now, couple of trends, right, that nobody could have missed, right? So we are living in the post-pandemic world, right?
Certainly, yeah.
Hybrid work is the way of life, and the moment you talk about hybrid work, so security becomes the most important thing, right? So because people are working with whatever device they can lay their hands to, right?
Yes.
With whatever network they can find wherever they are. So previously, the idea, the perception was like get everybody under one infrastructure into the company building,
Yep.
and just assume everything is safe, right? Today, that model does not exist anymore,
Certainly,
right? So you cannot tell people to only be inside one building and do all your work. So you have to allow people, and that means another pivotal point here, right? So your work models are changing, right? And we want to stay as relevant as possible. So in addition to what we are doing in ManageEngine, so a lot of focus is now going in information security, cyber security, privacy, compliance, and all of that. So when I get to talk to a lot of customers, they talk about how people just cannot learn anything about security overnight, right? And the motivational levels of attackers like are wide ranging today. They no longer do attacks just for money, right? People do security attacks just to get 5 minutes of fame, right? You pick a celebrity, so break their Twitter account, you become a celebrity, right?
Definitely, yeah.
You pick a popular website, right? So down them for like 10 seconds, you claim you are a hacker, right? For variety of reasons, you have attacks happening today all the time, right? But the feedback that we get from our customers is users still continue to be the weakest link in the chain, right? The chain, they cannot learn, they cannot change overnight, learn anything overnight. They are relying on software tools to secure their infrastructure, to secure their endpoints, right? To bring this security sanity posture into their overall infrastructure that is going completely hybrid, right? So that is exactly where we are focusing on as a company today in ManageEngine. So in addition to service management that we do, in addition to what we have been doing, renewed focus will go on cybersecurity,
Yes.
especially with respect to hybrid work and remote work and related to that. Yeah.
The perimeter is not confined anymore.
Absolutely.
It has expanded,
Yes.
and we have to react to that. And of
React,
course,
respond, and embrace. Yeah.
certainly, yes. We have dwelled a lot into technology now, Rajesh.
Right.
I want to digress and explore a little bit about the people of ManageEngine. I want to hear from you about the people of ManageEngine.
Okay.
So in ManageEngine, we know that we don't give too much attention to the credential,
Right.
and we don't have a vertical hierarchy.
Okay.
And this model worked when we were a 500 to 1,000 employee organization.
Right.
Now today we are 12,000 employee organization.
Right.
Is the model still relevant? Does the structure still work? Can you tell a little bit about our culture?
Yeah.
And
So I would say the model still works, but I should also be honest and admit it is not as smooth as it was when we were 500 people, when we were 1,000 people. When you are 12,000, when you are 13,000, there is a good influx of new people who come with their own fresh outlook, right? Their own approach to life.
Yes.
So it takes time for people to get the culture of the company, right? So it is definitely not as smooth, but this is where leadership makes the difference, right? This is where I realized, right? So despite all the misses that I have, right? So I cannot afford to only focus on things what I like anymore, right? So you have to give a lot of leadership time to people, mentorship time to people, right? This is another conscious thing that we do in this company, right? So if you have to retain culture, and that happens only through people interaction. And how does this happen? It has to come from, so we call our organization as like flat, no hierarchy and all that, but that's again not as literal as it sounds, right? So culture has to flow top down, right?
Definitely. Yep.
In that sense, we do have a hierarchy, right? So I am what I am today because what I learned from my seniors, right? So I try to like carry on the legacy, right? So help people with whatever I can, and I see that happening at all levels, right? So in Zoho, which is why I was also talking about how we see ourselves as 90 different startups, right?
Definitely.
So break things down. Don't look at it as 13,000 people. You are like a 300 people company and you have a 20-person company, right? there is a 1,000 people company, and that's how we still see ourselves. We are not like one culture. We are again set of cultures
Yes.
that lives with peace and harmony amongst ourselves, with their own rough edges, but that keeps things real, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way that we have preserved the microculture of every
Exactly. Right. Right.
product. I
That
would
is
say.
very important, right? You cannot force culture. Culture has to be like how people come together on their own, right? So
Okay.
based on their own outlook of their own lives, their values, right? And we just make sure and make this happen. We help this happen. We don't force anything. There is no forced culture here. Multiple cultures, you are free to go and join the culture that you are comfortable with.
Talking on that note, Rajesh, fitting people into microculture, I'd like to share my experience. In my 12 years in ManageEngine, I have played 4 different roles and you have
Right.
encouraged me.
Right.
Right? So, how do we benefit as an organization, allowing our employees to explore, experiment, find their talent? Does it translate into transformation and growth? Can you share your experience on that?
Again, absolutely, it definitely helps. And this is again a very conscious model that we have followed. This is also, I keep saying all the time, right? On one side, we are indeed a business, right? So
Of
we are
course.
a decently successful business. But from one side, I also see the journey of last 26 years has been one of like a great jolly time in a big playground where we could experiment a lot of games, right? This has literally been a playground where I learned a lot of games, and that's exactly how I see it. So you played 4 different roles, and you are telling me like I encouraged, right? I'm only wondering why only 4. You could have done 8 already, right? That is again coming from my own personal experience, and that there is one other question I get asked very frequently. 26 years and one company, did you never switch? What's wrong with you? Like, did you not get any other job, right? So the answer I give is like, why would people jump companies, right? There is a reason, right? You want to change. You probably want to try a different role, or you want better pay, whatever, right? There could be many reasons. And one thing that happened with ManageEngine for me is that switch was anyway happening. I never played the same role more than 2-3 years, right? Started as a programmer, wrote code for 2-3 years. Out of nowhere, I jumped into like people management, right? Being a full-time project manager, right? And same goes for the various other roles I tried. I wrote a lot of documentation. I've done support, customer support full-time. I've done pre-sales full-time. These are not roles that you wear multiple hats at the same time. I'm talking about roles you do full-time, right? On a full-time basis for a period of time, for a period of 2 years, 3 years. Not only me, I've seen like many people do this in this company, right? We are just merely passing on the legacy to more people, right? And this is again another factor that has helped this company. I talk about the craft, right? And our ability to do various things. So there is another thing that my mentor Kumar Vembu always used to say when we joined the company, right? It's never important that you are employed, right? It is always important that you are employable, right? Definitely. So if you are only going to be writing software in C and Java, as I was doing in my early part of the career, yes, I would still be a Java developer, right? How do you become employable? You have to try new things. You have to try new roles, right? I've done so many other things apart from writing code, writing documentation, doing customer support, doing pre-sales. All of that I thought I could do really well. One thing I still learning the trades are like in marketing, right? I'm still learning after doing for a long time, right? So this company gives you the playground for you to go play and along the way learn all these things. That makes you well-rounded, right? Even if you jump companies, jump jobs, yes, if you are going to be doing the same thing, that is not change. That is not transformation, right? You have to discover, right? So you have to like unlock more potential out of you. Definitely. You really don't know what you are capable of, right? Unless you have tried something for an extended period of time, it doesn't matter you succeed or fail, right? But this is where I call this a lab or a playground, right? You play a game, you win or lose, doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, you come out acquiring a completely new skill, right? This again has stayed with me, and I definitely encourage people like you. Don't be locked up with doing the same thing over and over again, right? You could jump companies jump jobs and do, or do it here, right? That is very, very important to enable your own transformation as a person. It starts from there. And again, your team and your product and your company, your society, right? That's how things happen, right? So be fearless, keep an open mind, go try, take the plunge.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, because I too get the question many a times from my friends, why are you sticking with an organization for 12, 13 years?
Right.
Now, that's a great validation, and I can be at peace.
Absolutely. As long as you realize you've already done 4 different jobs.
Rajesh, I have kept you for a very long period with me. Okay. I would ask one final question. The primary focus of ManageEngine is to give a great experience to our customers through technology.
Right.
Do we equally do that to our employees as well? How do we give a great experience within the organization?
Oh, absolutely. I know what you're asking me, right? So ManageEngine, we have built so many products for the IT management industry, right? So these are people working to manage the technology infrastructure in big enterprises, small, medium enterprises, and all of that, right? So ManageEngine has a set of products, and the Zoho.com division, we have our own set of products that could be used by any line of business, right? So it could be your sales function, your customer support function, your back-end operations like your HR, payroll, finance, and all of that. All the communication, collaboration that happens within the company, it's all powered by Zoho, right? If you are a business, right, and you are going completely digital, the idea of Zoho as a company is to offer an end-to-end set of software products for them to run the complete business. And we don't make this as a promise only to the customers, right? Today, Zoho is 13,000 people, spread across 12 different countries, 30 different locations across the world. Entire operations, right? So 13,000 employees, like few tens of thousands of partners, 75 million end users.
Yes.
All of them get served by one Zoho.com suite of software. And the whole infrastructure that Zoho delivers is managed by ManageEngine software, right? We care as much about the employee experience as much as the customer experience. So much so, the first step of validation of customer experience comes from our own employees, right? So when they use our products, when they use it for an extended period of time, only when they approve of the user experience, how polished the products are, how effective they are, right? We even take the products to the market. To sort of summarize, Zoho runs on Zoho and completely managed by ManageEngine.
That's great, Rajesh. It sounds like we solve our own problems, we solve the problem of the world.
It is a little stretch, but you could say that, right? So as long as we don't create problems, I'm happy. Yeah, there's so many problems to be solved.
Yes.
Yeah, as the cliche goes, we eat our own dog food, which is, again, going back to our own craft, right? So we don't want to be too reliant on software from outside. Have the capability to build your own tools. That's, again, the fundamental thing behind building all these products. You build the tools that you need, right, for your own craft. And once you have done that, take it to people outside. And that's been the model, and that has worked very well for us so far.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, for all the insights on leadership and your craft.
Thank you very much, Prem. It was a pleasure doing this. I hope this was useful. And anybody watching this video, feel free to connect with me on Twitter. Rajesh05 is my handle. I'll be happy to take questions and have any conversation if you find this useful. Thank you very much, Prem.
Thank you, Rajesh, for your leadership insights. And thank you, everyone, for investing your time with us. Stay tuned for another episode of Leadership Talk with us.